Well, the president's time of reckoning is upon us. Cyril Ramaphosa's hand will be revealed when he announces his new cabinet. Will he walk the talk? He's promised a clean, lean and business-friendly government. Former Special Investigating Unit Chief Governance Officer Maledi Moape joins me now. Very good to have you with us, Advocate. Julius Malema said there's a plan to remove Cyril Ramaphosa. He can deny it. He's going to be removed. With that in mind, how important is this cabinet decision and its makeup?
Good evening, Jane. I would imagine during this silly season post the elections, speculations abound. People would basically be saying this or that, and I think people are entitled to that. But I would imagine that, there will be a new cabinet as we're just coming from an election. And the president is on record, as he has been throughout, to say that he is going to be working with competent people who will ensure that there is service delivery to our people.
Okay, it's easy, I should imagine, to say it, but to actually deliver on those promises is pretty hard, considering what we're seeing playing out within the ANC, the factions, the figures who are in there, who hold much of the power. So how is he really going to deliver? That's what we want to know. Can he deliver?
Well, interestingly enough, political parties, ANC and others, they all have their own internal dynamics. But interestingly enough, one or the other, they somehow get over it. And certainly the ANC is not different. With all these dynamics which have been there in the ANC, we have seen an outcome where South African citizens have again given the ANC the right to govern, the right to implement the policies, which, by the way, when they went on the election campaign with their manifesto, this is what they told citizens. So in spite of all the internal problems, I think citizens are saying, we agree with your manifesto. And it is known generally that the president is the face of the ANC and also now the president-elect of the government, perhaps, if he becomes one.
Okay, let me bring in Sunusha Naidu. She's a political analyst on the line from Cape Town. It's good to have you join us. It's all going to play out in the cabinet, isn't it? I mean, well, we hope so. I mean, this is going to be the moment of reckoning when we really find out what's on the cards. How important do you think the decisions being made now are, and what's been taken into consideration?
Good evening, Jane, and good evening to your guests and colleagues in the studio in Johannesburg. I think it's a very telling moment for the party, for the ANC, for Ramaphosa, particularly because this week he spent time talking to investors. We saw that one of the investment credit rate, I think it was Goldman Sachs, that kind of reaffirmed their commitment to him. So it's really about that delivery of the kinds of policy dynamics and the policy implementation that's needed in order for the president to be able to move forward with a cabinet that is actually aligned to the vision and mandate that he wants to set out in the next 5 years in terms of the growth trajectory of the economy. We just saw the latest unemployment figures come out in terms of the highest level of unemployment in terms of where we are currently. We see that these are key decisions that have to be made and to put people into that position. So the markets will be looking at this. It's not just about the South African domestic economy and looking at what the electorate wants, because the electorate also sent a very clear message about what needs to be done in order to reconstruct this economy in a manner that delivers. So the protests we saw around service delivery, people waiting for homes, it was interesting because these were dynamics that came out very, very importantly in terms of what people are seeing in terms of their material, economic status, etc. And of course, at the international level,
I'm just going to jump in here.
A president that can deliver.
Okay, so I'm trying to work out how this all plays out into the cabinet decision, and the president has on several occasions hinted that there might be changes after the elections.
We'll be seeking to get people, men and women, who have great competence, great capability to serve the needs of the people of South Africa. We are going to look at realigning government, and in anticipation of the 6th democratic administration, we will have completed this work, and when we have completed it and after the elections.
Murapi, I mean, he's touching on ethical leadership then. If we look at who we have, Gwedi Mantashe running battles with the mining community, Batabile Dlamini, Minister of Women, she's lied under oath, she's considered not very competent. Nomvula Mokonyane, Minister of Environmental Affairs, she was taken down in the Bosasa scandal and also brought down the Water and Sanitation Department to its knees. How does he play those sort of figures within the next cabinet?
Yeah, remember the president is saying all what he's saying now, mindful of all the things that we are bringing now out. And he has worked with many women and men who by now, I'm sure he knows he can basically, I don't think he's short of looking at people he deems capable of implementing the manifesto of his political party. He's not implementing his own manifesto. If we listen to him now, he's not speaking in his individual capacity. He keeps on saying, we will do these things. So it means at this point in time, he probably, together with his collective, have an idea as to taking into account that we have a government plan, a national plan, the NDP. So he probably knows who is capable to deliver what insofar as our vision is concerned.
Okay, so Nusha, if he finds that anybody on that list is not capable to make it into cabinet, what are the political options that he has, the manoeuvres that he can undertake to get them to quietly slide off that list?
I think there's two things here, Jane. The first is that how much of flexibility does he have to appoint the people that he feels will be effective, efficient and capable, and also have that kind of vision and the collective that he's talking about in terms of the manifesto and the delivery. The second point is if he feels that he has enough maneuverability in terms of the party and not constrained by the dynamics of the internal issues and the factions and the constituencies, etc., I mean, then he would be able to appoint the people he wants. But I think that it's more contested than we actually believe it. I mean, academically, yes, it's on paper, this is what we want. But I think in practice, it's going to be a tough sell for him. So, he has to sell some of those names to some of those,
exactly.
to the NEC.
If you can't get rid of the names, the people that he doesn't want on the list, I mean, how capable is he then to make the cabinet smaller, as he's promised, to merge departments, to possibly get rid of deputies?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's a mammoth task. Just the reduction of the size of the cabinet is going to be mammoth, because it's not just about, you know, merging cabinets, merging or bringing into super ministries and having one minister and dealing with the kinds of streamlining costs that will then free up some kind of budget within and less pressure on the budget of the state. But it's also about dealing with a bureaucracy where people have now been into this bureaucracy based on patronage networks, based on coming in, and it's basically chief directors, DGs, etc., a whole line of a bureaucracy that's going to be somehow he has to deal with in terms of what does this mean in terms of in the impact of streamlining. And this will have implications for him, because these are networks that have come out of Luthuli House, the provinces and everywhere else, cadre deployment.
So Murapi, is he going to be able to do a clean, mean, streamlined cabinet?
I'm confident that the president will be able to execute what he has promised South Africans and what he continues to promise South Africans. And I think there is ample proof of, you know...
you're more confident than many South Africans I've spoken to.
Well, yeah, I am confident because I really follow politics, you know. if you just take into account all the many commissions of inquiries that we have had, I mean, whenever they came up with difficult recommendations to implement, he implemented them.
No, but
so
still
nobody's
in jail yet, are they?
Well, I'll tell you as a lawyer that it does not mean that if we think that Jane Dutton has committed a crime, then Jane Dutton must just be taken and be locked up in
due process.
Due process in terms of our constitution has got to be followed. Yeah. So those who are, and he has said it already, that those who have been found to have perhaps wronged the society criminally, due process must take its course. And I think we'll be the first ones to say, you know, it's not correct just to lock people in without following due process. But I'm confident that he is determined.
And it'll be expedited. Mashlori, Wapi, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Naidu, thank you.
So much.
Now, investors bet big on South Africa in the wake of the ANC's victory at the polls, but can Cyril Ramaphosa deliver on his promises to them? We discuss that next. And later, what to say and not to say during sex education in schools.